watching, yes, the Yankees Entertainment and Sports Network.
Well, a trip to Tampa for spring training affords a wide range of opportunities. A chance to get an autograph, maybe a chance to see your favorite stars with the Yankees. Derek Jeter back in the lineup for the Yanks today as the Yankees continue their spring training schedule here in Tampa. As today, the Yes Network presents New York Yankees baseball. It's the Yankees against the Minnesota Twins from George M. Steinbrenner Field here in Tampa. And great to have you with us, Bob Lorenz, along with Jack Curry. John Flaherty is our broadcast partner. He'll join us in just a bit. But we begin with Jack and terrible injury news about Jabba Chamberlain.
Right, Bob. A couple of hours ago, Brian Cashman assembled reporters in the dugout, said he had some news to dispense, and it wasn't good news for the Yankees. Jabba Chamberlain has an open dislocation of his right ankle. He injured the ankle yesterday while playing at a children's activity center with his son, Carter. Cashman said that he was on a trampoline when he injured the ankle, and it's bad news, Bob. He was coming back from Tommy John surgery. He was progressing. Things were going well. The Yankees were hoping for a June return. They won't see that now. He has to recover from the ankle injury.
Any idea of a prognosis when he might be back?
Brian Cashman was asked that question multiple times, and he said it's impossible to know. It's impossible to predict. He already had surgery last night. He's undergoing more tests today, so there's no way of knowing when he will come back. But I will say this, Bob, over and over, Brian Cashman said this is a very significant injury.
All right, we'll talk more about Jabba as the game progresses. Jack will rejoin us with other news as well. And when we come back, John Flaherty joins me from the booth as we get set for a good pitching matchup. Two players who found success early in their careers, Francisco Liriano and Ivan Nova. First pitch coming up next. Well, today's game on Yes is brought to you in part by Cadillac. Visit CadillacTristate.com to find a dealer near you. By WB Mason for office furniture and supplies at amazingly low prices. Who but WB Mason? And by the really big sales event. Real deals, big inventory now at your Honda dealer.
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
And a terrific rendition of our national anthem. You see some of the young kids on the field with the players. We'll talk more about those kids as the game goes on. A kickoff early in spring training for the Hope Week initiative for the Yankees. And again, we'll talk more about that. But as we get set to play ball here in Tampa, let's take a look at the Minnesota Twins starting lineup for this afternoon's ball game. And it begins with number 2, Denard Span, the center fielder, leading things off. Pedro Florimon is at second base. Ryan Doman, one of their free agent acquisitions, will play first. Justin Morneau bats cleanup and is the DH. Another free agent brought in, Josh Willingham, is out at left field. Sean Burrows is at third base. Brian Dozier, one of the stars of their minor league system, is at short. Brian Dinkelman is in right. And Drew Butera rounds out the Twins' order.
Manager Ron Gardenhire sends that lineup out to face Ivan Nova, taking care of some pleasantries out on the mound.
And again, this is part of the Hope Week initiative. This is 17-year-old Tampa Catholic High School ball player Owen Sarwatka. We'll hear from him a little bit later, but he started an organization called Everyone Can Play. It's a baseball skills clinic here in the Tampa area for kids with physical and or intellectual disabilities, and they got to go out on the field with their favorite players at every position. And you see Owen throwing out the first pitch with Ivan Nova on the hill. So a great day for the youngsters here in Tampa. And again, this a way for the Yankees to kick off their Hope Week initiative. It'll be their third year of doing it coming up. They'll do it June 25th through the 29th at Yankee Stadium. And as mentioned, we'll have more on that as the ball game continues. But again, it's Ivan Nova on the hill, looking for a little bit of a bounce back performance.
Yeah, Ivan Nova has not had a great spring training. He had a huge rookie year last year with the New York Yankees, bursting on the scene. Some fantastic numbers, got more out of him than they would have expected, but he needs to get it going at this point in spring training. These are the numbers last year. 28 games, 27 starts, 16 wins really jump out at you. We'll take a look at our Volkswagen pitcher scouting report on Ivan Nova, a rookie sensation with 16 wins. But it is an open competition here in spring training. And with the addition of Andy Pettit, things get a little bit more interesting. And the fastball command has been an issue for Nova this spring. He is 0-2 with a 7.82 ERA, Bob. So those numbers need to improve here as Joe Girardi and Larry Rothschild, the pitching coach, try to sort out the back end of the rotation.
And Nova says he's not overly concerned, as a lot of ball players say, because of spring training. They're trying to work on some things. Let's take a look at the defense that is behind Ivan Nova today, and it is brought to you by the Home Depot. Out in left field, the veteran Bill Hall. In center field, Curtis Granderson. And out in right, Justin Maxwell. Around the infield, Alex Rodriguez, Derek Jeter, Eduardo Nunez, and Mark Teixeira at first. Russell Martin back behind the plate, and he will be catching Ivan Nova. And good for Martin, coming back from a bit of a groin issue, to get some reps with Ivan Nova.
Yeah, he caught the other night. Everything looked like it was fine with Martin coming out of that start, so he's ready to go today.
Let's take a look at the game time weather conditions now, brought to you by Toyota. And a balmy day here. A bit of humidity, 83 degrees here in Tampa. Winds blowing in from center field just a bit. And back in the Bronx, wow. Again, unseasonably terrific temperatures, 71. Up till a couple weeks ago, I was thinking we're getting one more blast of snow back home, but it just doesn't feel like it's going to happen, and I hope it doesn't.
If it does, I'll blame you for that comment as you verbalized.
Here we go. First pitch to Denard Span, and it is in there for a strike.
Well, I mentioned fastball command with Nova, and what does that mean? I mean, he's got to stay out of the middle of the plate, hit the corners a little bit more than he has been down here in the spring.
And laced into center field, but Curtis Granderson right there, one away. And that'll bring up Pedro Florimon. Now, Nova last year, what impressed me about him, rose to the occasion, answered the call every time. Out of spring training, Flash, when he got sent down, he worked on some things, developed things at AAA again, then came back an even better pitcher.
Yeah, and also we remember way back in the start of the year, he couldn't get past, what, 4 or 5 innings?
Right. And Florimon out to left field. And Bill Hall is there for out number 2.
And he straightened out those problems, added that slider. All of a sudden he was able to go through a lineup multiple times. And you know what? You just ask him to come into camp this year and do the same thing. And the camp has not been great. But we're at a point now where the competition's starting to heat up a little bit. And I'm sure Joe Girardi looking for better stuff today from Nova.
Well, he definitely had that hunger last year. He was very vocal about it. Loved being part of the big league club. Didn't want to get sent down. Wanted to stay. So this is an opportunity to really cement himself in that starting rotation as he delivers a first pitch strike to Ryan Doumit. Doumit, a free agent acquisition. They're going to need some help behind the plate. Don't know how many games Joe Mauer can catch. So Doumit, free agent from the Pirates.
Hot and cold for Nova this spring training with those numbers. Bob, you always hear about the sophomore slump. You know, a kid comes up, has a big rookie year, and then the next year the numbers are not that great, and Novas has to guard against that. I mean, the league knows him now. He's got to make some adjustments.
And a breaking ball. Did he check himself? He did not. They ring him up. So 1-2-3 inning there, top of the first. Impressive stuff from Ivan Nova as we head to the Yankees' first at bats. The bottom of the first here in Tampa, so let's get to today's Yankees starting lineup presented by Lexus. The captain is back. Derek Jeter leading things off at shortstop. Curtis Granderson is batting second out in center. Mark Teixeira is at first base in the 3-hole. Alex Rodriguez batting cleanup at third. Russell Martin is in the 5th spot catching. Andruw Jones is the DH today. Eduardo Nunez is at second base with Robbie Cano playing elsewhere. Bill Hall is out in left and Justin Maxwell out in right field.
Joe Girardi sends that lineup out against a left-hander, Francisco Liriano. We'll take a look at his numbers from last year. Not that great. 9-10 in ERA over 5, 75 walks and only 134 in the 3rd innings. We'll look at our Volkswagen pitcher scouting report on Liriano. Top of the rotation type guy with a question mark. I'm not sure with an ERA over 5. But every other year he seems to put it together. We'll see if this is one of those years. And rounding himself into shape. His last outing, 5 innings, did not give up a run, had 6 strikeouts.
Those are 5 no-hit innings against the Pirates. Impressive stuff. In fact, this spring, Liriano, 13 innings. He struck out 18 as a 2.77 ERA. Well, Derek Jeter back in the lineup. He, of course, had missed a few games with a strained left calf. Little chopper in front of the plate and then goes foul.
You know, in talking to Derek right after that injury, he was not concerned at all. But Joe Girardi really took his time getting him back into the lineup. And it's a smart thing, obviously. First game since the 14th of March.
You really do have that luxury, though, in spring training of giving a guy a few extra days. And the 0-2, and Liriano misses low, 1-2.
You know, on the 23rd of March, obviously, a couple of weeks left here before opening day. So Derek should get plenty of at-bats if he stays healthy and get his timing right where he wants it to be for opening day.
And the 1-2 outside part of the play. Jeter down the third base line and foul.
You know, I was just thinking, Bob, if you're Joe Girardi, you want Derek Jeter to hit some nice ground balls or a fly ball, hopefully a line drive. The last thing you want to see is that little infield swing over the top where you start to bust it down the line trying to beat out an infield hit. You know, risk re-injuring that calf.
Well, they made sure they tested it yesterday here in Tampa, running on the dirt, full speed. He looked good, so it was all systems go for today as he knocks one down the right field line and will look for extra bases, but with the ball bouncing over to the right fielder, Dinkelman, Jeter holds up with a leadoff single. As we take a look now at the Twins defense, brought to you in part by the Home Depot. And I mentioned out in right, Brian Dinkelman, also in the outfield, Josh Willingham in left, and Denard Span in center. Around the infield, Sean Burrows at third, Brian Dozier at short, Pedro Florimon at second, and Ryan Doman at first base. Drew Butera does the catching for Liriano.
A good start for Derek Jeter, kind of the excuse me swing going the other way.
And that brings up Curtis Granderson. Granderson, a good night last night against the Red Sox, batting .393 this spring. So all the good mojo from last season just carrying over to this spring. And a swing and a miss, 0-2.
Well, you see that familiar number 24 coaching first base, Tino Martinez. There's a little bit of pressure on him today, Bob. Charlie Wanzowitz, you know, does a lot of advanced work, coached first base last night. Fort Myers, a couple of Yankees were picked off over there, and he caught a lot of heat. A little pressure on Tino today.
And Granderson couldn't check himself to strike out, one away. So that was on the coaching radar, if you will.
Oh, they definitely were paying attention, and Andrew Jones and Chavez got picked off of first base last night, and Charlie Wanz has been demoted. There's a new first base coach, and there's a split squad today. Obviously, another Yankee club playing in Clearwater against the Phillies.
I mentioned Cano playing elsewhere. Brett Gardner is over there as well. Kuroda pitching that one. Hiroki Kuroda has had a nice spring so far. 1-1 in ERA of 4. And this is Mark Teixeira with one away. And Liriano missing away, 1-1.
No, I mentioned Liriano, Bob, with the every other year he has a good year. In 2008 he has a 3.91, and then he comes back the next year with a 5.8, comes back the next year with a 3.62, and then last year an ERA over 5. Not very consistent year to year.
But also in the midst of last year, May 3rd, he has a no-hitter against the White Sox. So he's got the stuff. It's about doing it consistently.
He's a tough guy to figure out because you watch him and he threw a nasty slider to Curtis Granderson that, you know, is going to be tough for any major league hitter. But the walk total hasn't come under control as he has matured.
And this is up high, 3-1.
There it is, the last 4 years. I mean, you go from a 3.6 to a 5.8. I mean, that's a huge difference, obviously. And the Twins need him to get back to form.
And Teixeira drives one out to right field. Dinkelman is there, and Jeter retreats to first, 2 away. Well struck ball by Teixeira. And that'll bring up Alex Rodriguez. Rodriguez having a nice spring as well. 345, a couple of home runs, 9 runs batted in.
And the good news with all the injuries, little nicks and bruises around camp, Alex Rodriguez has stayed relatively healthy. He's having a good spring.
And first pitch in for a strike, and this is a theme that will carry from last season through spring into this season in 2012. But you just wonder what that offense can do with a healthy Alex Rodriguez playing more than 99 games. You wonder what it will do with Nick Swisher getting his average back up. Mark Teixeira hitting to the back of his baseball card. As Alex looks at strike two.
We talk about it all the time. Joe Girardi and his staff keep Alex Rodriguez out on the field, give him some days off in key situations. Same thing with Derek Jeter, the left side of the infield. Keep them productive.
0-2. And a little slider misses 1 and 2.
Well, early indications with Liriano. He has got good stuff today. A couple of fastballs, and he drops a nasty slider down and in. Alex on the front foot. Not a great take right there.
And a little change up outside, and Rodriguez can't get it. So a couple strikeouts in the inning. We're through 1, scoreless in Tampa. Hey, Yankees fans, individual game tickets for the 2012 season at Yankee Stadium are on sale now as part of a pre-on sale exclusively for MasterCard card holders from now through Sunday, March 25th at 10 p.m. To use your MasterCard to purchase tickets, visit Yankees.com/priceless or call Ticketmaster at 877-469-9849. And we head to the top of the second here in Tampa, scoreless game. Minnesota Twins come into this with a 12-9 spring record, and this is one guy that they hope will change their regular season fortunes again because he needs to change his regular season fortunes, and that's DH Justin Morneau. Battling all sorts of injuries really over the last year and a half, Flash, but last year limited to 69 regular season games.
Yeah, he ran the gamut with a concussion, some left wrist problems.
And he lifts one to the left side. Derek Jeter tracking along with Bill Hall. Jeter gives way, and Hall's got out number 1.
Also had a pinched nerve in his neck. This guy just has had a lot of injuries. Can't stay on the field.
He also had a left shoulder injury, which led to more concussion-like symptoms in August, and that caused him to miss the rest of last season.
You know, in the Minnesota Twins, their success in recent past has been pretty simple. Morneau and Mauer, your two big-name stars in the middle of the lineup, can carry you offensively.
And I mean, you used to pencil him in for 30 and 100, right?
Sure, every year. And then you sprinkle in some nice role players around them with a solid pitching staff and a team that plays good defense, and you're in the playoffs every year, it seemed like, Ron Gardenhire and his club.
Well, this is a guy who could certainly help. Josh Willingham, who they signed, he was with the Oakland A's last year. And you talk about power in a place where normally you don't have power. In Oakland, and of course he hit some on the road. 29 homers and 98 runs batted in for the A's.
Yeah, and signed a nice deal for the Twins, 3 years, $21 million.
Had to find a way to replace some of the production of Michael Kadire, who signed a free agent deal with the Rockies, and Willingham was their guy.
You know what, Bob? Well, I don't know about you, but when I think of the Minnesota Twins, though, I think of fundamentals. They are usually fundamentally sound. They catch the ball. Last year they had a .980 fielding percentage. That's 13th in the league.
And Nova with a strike. Called strike 3, 2 away here in the second.
Well, Liriano looked good in the bottom of the first, and Nova comes out in the second. He looks rock solid. A good slider early in the count, and then dots a fastball inside on the corner. Freezes Willingham. But getting back to my point with Ron Gardenhire and his club, usually they catch the ball. They play fundamental baseball, a lot of hit and runs, move runners over. Last year it was a team that I just did not recognize from this organization or that manager.
Yeah, this is a team that might not outslug you, but they might outplay you on the field, and that might save a run or two and get a few more wins. In fact, they didn't have many wins last year, 63-99. They were at the bottom of the American League Central. Well, here's Sean Burroughs. You might remember him as a former #1 pick with the San Diego Padres. Spent some time with the Angels as well. Was out of baseball, actually, as he fouls one away for 3 years. Out of pro ball, but he came back, and now he signed a deal to try and get a job with the Twins.
Sean Burroughs, I remember him all the way back to the Little League World Series.
Son of former major leaguer Jeff Burroughs. In the 0-2 from Nova. Great breaking ball, gets him swinging. So 2 strikeouts in the inning for Nova, 3 overall as we head to the bottom of the second. Well, Sunday afternoon, the Yankees continue their tune-up for the 2012 campaign when they take on the Tigers here at Steinbrenner Field. Coverage on Yes starts at 1 o'clock as John Flaherty and I call the action from Tampa. Tigers, Yankees. It all starts Sunday at 1, only on Yes. And it's the Yanks against the Twins, bottom of the second here on a beautiful Friday afternoon. Russell Martin leading things off in the second against Francisco Liriano. Wanted to get your thoughts on Martin the other day when Andy Pettit threw his first bullpen. Having a little chat with him, running out, saying, "What are you doing? You going to do what?" And he ran out there, grabbed his glove, and got a feel for him. Caught him for the first time.
Well, I loved it. I mean, establishing a relationship with Andy who he's never caught before.
And Martin driving one out into center field. That is the center fielder span, one away.
And Andy appreciated it, which, goes a long way, obviously, establishing that relationship. But I kind of laughed when Russell Martin said it was the best side session he has caught all spring. Is he exaggerating a little bit? I mean, he caught a lot of sides this spring training, but he was very impressed with Andy and his work. And Andy threw today to live hitters.
And we'll talk about that later with Jack Curry. Everybody you've talked to, though, I know Larry Rothschild, the pitching coach, Joe Girardi, they've been impressed with what Pettit is bringing to the table so far.
We got a chance to talk to Andy this morning, and obviously physically looked like he was in great shape. But what did Larry Rothschild say? He's a pro. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to get himself ready.
And Andre Jones is swinging a miss, 1-1.
Andre getting a lot of at-bats lately, as Joe Girardi breaking it down with Reggie Jackson, Mr. October. And Andy Pettit in the background.
And lifting one out to left field. Willingham will fight the sun a little bit, 2 away. Bringing up Eduardo Nunez now back to Pettit. Just really, I don't think there's doubt in anybody's mind, maybe Pettit most of all, that he can really get this thing on track. Physically, maybe not. He's worried about his legs a little bit, but mentally.
Well, he's worried about his legs, but talking to Andy this morning, the one thing that I could not believe he said to us, he goes, I'm worried about, and worried's not the right word, bases loaded, Fenway Park against the Red Sox.
And Nunez hammering one out into right for a base hit.
Mentally, will I be ready to kick it into another gear to compete and really grind? And I laughed. I said, that's the last thing I worry about you. When you get in a big situation, you seem to take it to another level mentally. But that's his main concern right now. I don't see that being a problem.
And he has that mentality where I think if he tells himself that now, it's a motivation for him. It's a tool to say, I'm not going to have any problem with that situation.
That's a good point.
Well, here's Bill Hall. Veteran brought in as some depth in the outfield, batting .211 this spring. Nunez on first, 2 outs. So far, Tino doing a good job at first, keeping Nunez honest over there. And Liriano, a lot of first pitch strikes, 0-1 on Hall.
Well, you mentioned his last outing against the Pirates, Bob. 5 shutout innings, did not give up a hit in that. 6 strikeouts. I'll tell you, I've been very impressed. He's using all 3 of his pitches, getting ahead in the count.
And a swing and a miss. And this is one guy that Ron Gardenhire doesn't want to have to worry about. He's got enough problems with the starting staff. Carl Pavano has struggled this spring. Scott Baker has some tendonitis. It's limited his innings this spring. Those are guys you're really relying on to start the season and come out of the gate and help you.
Well, if you're Ron Gardenhire, though, can you look at Liriano and say, I know what I'm getting? We showed you the numbers year to year. They fluctuate so much. I'm sure in the back of his mind, Gardenhire thinking, I'm hoping he's going to have one of those good years.
And a swing and a miss for Hall. And that is the 3rd strikeout of the game for Liriano. We head to the top of the 3rd. Jack Curry coming up with some news and notes next.
Jabba got into an accident at some sort of, kid's place with, he was playing with his son, I think, at one of those places where a bunch of gymnastic stuff, trampolines and things of that nature, one of those type of facilities. He has a open dislocation of his right ankle. He's in St. Joseph's Hospital, had a surgical procedure last night, and we're still trying to determine, what's going on and how it's going to go. But it's a significant injury.
Right, there's Brian Cashman talking about Jabba Chamberlain. You saw the ground out by Brian Dozier here for 1 out in the top of the third. Scoreless game. Jack Curry joins us once again now. Jack, we talked about Jabba a little bit earlier, but Cashman kind of reiterating what went on, and it is not good news for a pitcher they were hoping to get back sometime in June or July.
Right, Bob. He's already coming back from the Tommy John surgery. He's been making great progress, and for this to happen and the way it happened, you sensed from the words that were coming out of Brian Cashman's mouth just how distressed he was to have to report this news. He talked about Jabba's situation. He said his son is fine. The 5-year-old son, Carter, was not injured, but Jabba did suffer the injury by playing on some sort of kids' activity, trampoline, and just very distressing news for the Yankees. And Brian was very somber as he delivered it because he said, listen, I can't tell you what the future holds. It's impossible for me to predict. Although he said in his gut and his heart, he thinks that Jabba will come back.
And Ivan Nova, solid start here with 1 out in the third against Brian Dinkelman now, the right fielder. Jack, again, I mentioned this is a guy they were hoping to have back, although, they didn't know maybe what they were going to get. He was going to be one of those safety blankets, if you will, in a bullpen when he came back because that back end is so loaded. You wonder what kind of ripple effect this might have. Right.
Brian called it a massive loss. And I think the reason he said that, Bob, is because you look for depth in your bullpen. And that's what Chamberlain was going to give them. Look at the postseason. When you get to the postseason, look what the St. Louis Cardinals did last year. They had a bullpen that they could go to, and they had multiple guys to go to. And I think that's what was important for the Yankees. They already have Robertson, Soriano, and Rivera. But you could bring another power arm in Jabba Chamberlain, and if he was back to where they believed he could be, all of a sudden you have a guy maybe for the 6th inning to go to, the way you go to Robertson and Soriano in the 7th and the 8th. So I think that's where you lose out. Some people have already thrown out the idea, does this change Phil Hughes' role? I don't think it changes his role at all. I think the Yankees see him as a starter, and I think he's going to stay there.
I guess, obviously this is bad news for Jabba, but we've been talking all spring, Jack, about the depth of the pitching and the young pitching that's coming along the way. There could be an opportunity.
There could be. I mean, Adam Warren, look at what he did last night, 4 scoreless innings. And when I asked Joe Girardi about Warren before the game, and I kind of already had him ticketed to go to Scranton, he said, hey, listen, there's still a bullpen job open here. Might go to a lefty, but a kid like Warren, if he steps up, that fastball that he showed yesterday, striking out Adrian Gonzalez, and it's sometimes baseball, and you know this, John, from a guy who played it, it can be a cold game, and the way that opportunities sometimes come is because somebody gets injured. So you're right, that could have the trickle-down effect, but just the way that Cashman talked about this injury and what it exactly is, and how a dislocation, an open dislocation, basically means that the bone pierces the skin. So this is a pretty serious and significant injury, and I think that's why Brian was so somber as he delivered the news.
Ivan Nova looking very good here in the top of the third. Quickly ahead 0-2 on the number 9 hitter, Drew Butera. And the 0-2. And tries a breaking ball, misses away 1-2. We're going to talk about David Robertson and Andy Pettit with Jack in just a bit. Ivan Nova to Butera, and Curtis Granderson tracking that one down, and that'll do it. So 3 impressive innings here so far for Ivan Nova as we are scoreless heading to the bottom of the third. David Robertson back throwing a live bullpen. We're going to talk to Jack at the latest on him coming up. We head to the bottom of the third with better news for Yankees fans. We just got done talking about Jabba Chamberlain, but David Robertson back on the comeback trail from a minor injury, and then Andy Pettitte on his comeback out of retirement. Jack, both facing live BP this morning. Let's start with Robertson. How did he look?
Robertson faced some minor league hitters, Bob. We saw in that graphic he threw 29 pitches. He faced the equivalent of 7 batters. As we're going to see a ground ball, this is going to turn into an out, I believe.
Justin Maxwell beating it out. The 9-hitter in the Yankees order, playing right field today, so he's aboard.
That's why I should leave the play-by-play for you, Bob. This is what Robertson did. We see Larry Rothschild in the background there. This was his warm-up beforehand, and now this is actually where he faces the 7 batters. Against those 7 batters, he struck out 2, he walked 1. I think the important thing for the Yankees was that he just felt comfortable. Did he have great command? No. 8 of the first 13 pitches he threw were balls. You see him talking to Larry Rothschild there about some sort of comfort issue on the mound. But it was all about just getting out there and taking the next step and getting him back.
Maxwell on first. Derek Jeter is the batter once again. He singled in his first at bat in the bottom of the first.
Well, Jack, I guess the most important thing, physically there are no limitations, so it's all strictly baseball getting into shape.
And Jeter to short, over to second for 1, and on to first, a quick double play.
Right, that's what they're looking at with Robertson, and it's the same thing with Andy Pettitte. Andy Pettitte talked about his session where he faced 6 batters, and he just said, it's a next step. It's the next step that I'm taking. And Pettitte, guys, look really good. I know if you're the Yankees, you want to temper things, you want to be patient with him, but his situation was a little different. You see that he has the screen in front of him there. He said one of the issues that he's dealing with right now as a guy who hasn't pitched lately, he's having trouble seeing the ball come off the hitter's bat. And he said, I really want to be as careful as I can right now. But Larry Rothschild and Mike Harkey both told him as he was going through his session, they loved the movement on his pitches. And it was interesting to see him deal with the minor leaguers because unlike Robertson, he actually was telling the kids what was coming. So he'd say fastball, cutter, and even though he was letting them know it was coming, they don't see cutters like that in single and double A, so they weren't doing much to it.
Well, here's Curtis Granderson, struck out his first at bat. 2 outs here, bottom of the third. And a little broken bat to short. Brian Dozier over to first, and that'll do it. We're going to have more with Jack coming up as we head to the top of the 4th, scoreless here in Tampa.
Good. I mean, I was a little sore still this morning, but got in the hot tank and got good and loose and ran, and I felt really good out there today. I felt like I could have probably thrown 10 or 15 more, but Larry was just like, let's just shut it down and let's just take it slow. So it was good.
There's Andy Pettitte, top of the 4th. Ivan Nova gets Denard Span to ground out. 1 out here in the 4th. Let's talk more, Jack, about Andy Pettitte. And, interesting perspective for him because veterans will come in and it's just all about getting the work done. Don't care about wins and losses, building up pitch counts, that kind of thing. But I wonder if he's kind of rechanneled his inner rookie with the reignition of being excited about being in camp.
Yeah, you can see the excitement, Bob, and I also see a ton of confidence. I think that Andy Pettitte was always a very confident pitcher, but you can tell that he knows that he put the work in to get to this point, and he gave it a lot of thought, and he feels very comfortable about this comeback. He repeated again this morning, listen, I expect to be the guy that I was.
Chopper to first. Teixeira's got it, 2 away.
I mean, you're talking about the guy that he was. This is one of the premier lefties in the American League, and he thinks he can go back to being that guy. And the Yankees are excited about that, although they say to themselves and to Pettitte, let's just make sure we take our time.
Early replacement at shortstop. Derek Jeter has left the game. Ramiro Pena out at short. And by all indications, just a quick afternoon of work for Derek Jeter. Of course, coming off that strained calf, so you give him a few reps. He had a couple of bats. In fact, a single and hit into a double play. Ryan Doman is the batter with 2 away. And a little chopper right back to Nova. On to Teixeira at first. And that will do it. So, Jack, thank you. We will see you a little bit later with more news and notes as we head to the bottom of the 4th. Remain scoreless here in Tampa. Let's check out the Mazda upcoming schedule. And you take a look at what the Yankees have done. A tie last night against the Boston Red Sox, playing the Twins today. Home and home against Detroit this weekend. They will be in Lakeland tomorrow with Freddie Garcia on the hill, and then back here with a game on, Sunday, at 1 o'clock. Michael Pineda against Dwayne Bilo in that one. And then you see a game against Toronto, followed up by a game on Tuesday that Flash and I will have for you as well here on, a Tuesday night affair. Again, Derek Jeter out quickly in this one. Got a couple at bats, some reps. The calf apparently feeling good. As we head to the bottom of the 4th, Mark Teixeira leading things off. Scoreless game. Yanks with 3 hits. Ivan Nova tossing so far 4 innings of no-hit ball.
Bob, watching Derek on the top step there talking to Joe Girardi, if there was any problems or even a hint of a problem with the calf, he would be in the training room. So a couple of at bats, early day.
And would he be in the hot tank or the cold tank?
Well, we're going to be lucky enough to talk to Joe Girardi in the 5th inning, I believe, and I want to find out exactly what that hot tank is that Andy Pettitte's talking about.
They got him good and loose, so you got to figure it's that hot tub.
It's great having Andy around again. Just talking to him today, he said how much his family wanted him to come back. Or they didn't want him to retire. They wanted him to come back. They're all excited.
And a leadoff walk here from Mark Teixeira in the bottom of the 4th.
And actually talk to Andy about it. I mean, when you're an older player, a veteran player, and you have those responsibilities at home, if you can eliminate that stress mentally that they want you to keep playing, a lot easier to get the job done.
Well, listen, he also has a luxury that few major leaguers have been able to afford. And what I mean by that is he got to spend an entire offseason, or year rather, at home with his family. Got to get caught up in the routine, got to relieve his wife Laura of some of the carpool duties, see his kids play ball and compete in sports. And then he had the physical ability to say, hey, I'd like to come back and do this again. Alex Rodriguez struck out against Francisco Liriano in the first inning, and there's a first pitch strike, 0-1.
We always think with Liriano, I always think about his slider as being a big strikeout pitch. The changeup has been very impressive here this afternoon, and a good first pitch changeup to Alex Rodriguez had him fooled.
Another off-speed pitch there, 0-2. One of the interesting things about Liriano, limited in part because of a shoulder strain last year, so only pitched 134 1/3 innings. So he's looking to build back up to that level that he's been at before, up around the 200 inning mark. But that'd be a heck of a jump.
You look at their rotation with Carl Pavano, Liriano following him. I mean, Liriano has to have a big year for this team to have any chance in the Central. You know how much better Detroit has gotten.
And a swing and a miss. Another slider there, down and in. And Alex goes down swinging for the second time of the game.
Change-up first pitch, slider second, and then he comes back with another slider down and in, swinging right over the top. And Liriano's a little different, where he has enough velocity with the fastball. You have to respect it. Well, he gets a lot of strikeouts with the slider.
One away with Teixeira on first, and that'll bring up Russell Martin, who lined to center field in his first at bat. Martin, no homers, no runs batted in so far this preseason. And a grounder to second. Flip to second for one, and on to first to double play. So a quick inning after the leadoff walk here for Francisco Liriano. We are joined by the manager, Joe Girardi, coming up next here on Yes. Scoreless game here in Tampa on the Audi scoreboard. 3 hits for the Yankees. Ivan Nova has not given up a run or a hit so far in 4 innings of work against the Twins. We are joined by manager Joe Girardi. We'll talk Nova in just a bit, but Joe, good to have you with us. Let's talk, unfortunately, about some bad news, and that was the news that Jabba Chamberlain, with the open dislocation of his right ankle. How did you take the news?
Well, I mean, it's disappointing for him. It's disappointing for us. He has worked so hard to get back to where he's at this point, and he's ahead of schedule with his arm, and it's because of the work that he's put in and spent so much time in Florida rehabbing. And You know, it hurts. I mean, it hurts us, but it hurts him a ton because you're so close to getting back to doing what you love, and now you have a setback. So it's something that he's going to have to deal with it. We'll be there for him. We're a big family here, and we're going to support him, and we'll get him through it.
Justin Morneau leads things off here in the top of the 5th. Morneau flying out to left field his first time up. And Nova in with a strike. Now, the one thing about Jabba, let me ask you this, is he was so positive in his rehab from Tommy John, and he was kind of a known quantity. You knew he was going to have him back at some point, probably June or July. Does this change things in your mind, or is it just too early for that?
Well, I mean, we're getting some reports probably fairly soon. He had to do some MRIs and some CAT scans to look at the tendons, the ligament, and the bone itself to see if there's any little fracture. So we'll have a better idea. But he's going to be out for a while because he's going to be in a cast, and then that slows down his arm rehab. So it's going to be a while, and it won't be by June how it would have been.
Morneau lifts one out to center. Granderson chasing it back to the warning track, and that'll be off the wall about halfway up. Morneau into second with a leadoff double here in the 5th, and that's the first hit of the ball game for the Twins.
Well, Joe, don't want to minimize the injury, obviously, to Jabba. It's kind of uncharted territories when you're talking about this type of injury. But we've been talking all spring about the depth of your pitching. And a guy like Adam Warren last night, I mean, you wonder at some point during the year, this is going to create another opportunity for maybe a younger pitcher.
You know, we talked about that the first day of spring, how we used 28 pitchers last year, and we put guys that were on the roster that had never been there before. So, I mean, there are opportunities, and you have to make sure you're prepared when that opportunity arises. Just because you get sent down out of camp, don't get frustrated. Go to work and try to better yourself. I mean, Nova did that last year, and he was winning games left and right for us. And you probably will get an opportunity at some point if you're throwing well.
Well, you talked about Nova. You got to be very, very happy today. It looks like he's got all his pitches.
We've got one up there, and that is Josh Willingham taking it out to left. And just like that, after the leadoff double by Morneau, Willingham goes deep, and the Twins have a 2-0 lead.
You know, we saw that from Willingham last year when we got behind him. You know, he could hit the fastball out of the ballpark, and that's what he did. He got A.J. a couple times last year, and he got a fastball up there, and he was behind in the count, and he made him pay.
You know, Joe, has that been the issue all spring with Nova? And we're getting another look at the fastball, and it looks like it's supposed to be in. It ended up out over the plate. Fastball command been the problem?
Yeah, I mean, he's had some issues, and he's been behind in the count. He hasn't been today. He's been really sharp up until this point today. And he's just got to get back on track and keep it right here.
All right, so a 2-0 Twins lead. Nobody out here in the top of the 5th, and the third baseman Sean Burrows is up. Nova struck him out his first time up, and he fouls one away. Back to the good news side of the thing. Certainly, Joe, for the bullpen, and that's David Robertson, the live BP today, and it looks like for him it's back to all systems go.
Yeah, he looked pretty good today. He was a little rusty today in the beginning, but he seemed to find it at the end, and that's a good sign for us. He's not having any problems with his foot. Andy threw a live BP, which we're excited about, so we're getting these guys where we need to get them.
Is there a difference in Andy Pettitte? I asked Jack Curry this sort of mentally. I wondered aloud if he sort of rechanneled his inner rookie, a different excitement maybe coming back off retirement than maybe he would have had a couple years ago.
I think sometimes you appreciate it more when you get away from it, opposed to, you know, you come in every year and you're getting ready for the season. I don't think you appreciate it as much until you're actually away from it, and I think that's what happened. He felt good about where his family was, and decided. And I think he sat in those coaches meetings for 2 days and said, "I don't want to do this."
And Nova giving up another base hit to Sean Burrows here in the 5th.
Well, 3 consecutive hits, Joe. But, you know, Andy said in one of our interviews he was a little sore the other day, and he got himself in a hot tank. Can you please break down for us exactly what that hot tank is?
Well, he loves the hot tub so much. It's just a whirlpool that I have named it the SS Pettitte. He just loves. He gets in the hot. He gets in the cold. And Flash, you remember as a catcher, I would get in both of them too. Before the game, the hot tank, and some days in the cold tank after, just to try to revitalize my legs. But I don't think Andy could live without it. I really don't.
Does Captain Pettitte let anybody in the SS Pettitte, or is it just him?
No, he has to share it, but he's probably in it more than anyone on our club.
Well, this is Brian Dozier, the shortstop. And squares around, pulls back. Nova with a strike, 0-1.
You know, Joe, Bob and I had an opportunity to talk to Andy this morning, and he surprised me a little bit in that he said, He was a little concerned that if he gets in a big jam, say Red Sox, Yankees, that mentally he's going to be able to kick it into another gear. And I think that's the last thing I would worry about from Andy Pettitte.
Yeah, I don't think he'll ever lose that competitiveness. I just don't. And I think that's probably why he came back. He missed the competing part of the game. Because it does leave a void if you don't necessarily fill it and you still believe that you can pitch or play at the level that is when you left. So I think it's difficult. I know for me, I knew I was done. I just couldn't stay healthy, and it wasn't, you know, it wasn't in there for me anymore to try to stay healthy. It was just too hard. But for Andy, I mean, he left still pitching really well.
Let's give you an update as we look at the delivery from Ivan Nova on 0-2.
You got an update on the score in Clearwater?
I do. Actually, 3-0 Yankees. Hiroki Kuroda so far.
All right.
Just one hit.
So it's my first out-of-town scoreboard I've heard all year.
Cano with 2 runs batted in, and Eric Chavez with a run batted in as well.
Very good. Chavi was one of the lucky guys that got to go last night and got to go on the road today. So it's good to hear he's swinging the bat. Makes his trip a little more pleasant.
Here's Brian Dinkelman with one away. Line base hit up the middle. That'll set up first and second. How much of a balancing act do you think that's going to be? I know you've been asked this before, but you know, Chavez is available to spell Alex a little bit. You've got Eduardo Nunez that can help out in the infield, give Derek Jeter and Robbie Cano days off.
I think it's going to probably be one of the most important things I have to do this year. Keeping these guys fresh and strong and not letting them get run down to where maybe they pull something or hurt something. You know, I think that's going to be one of my biggest jobs, as I said, because I have to know when it's time to give them a day off and when it's time just to give them a DH day. And they have to communicate. But, you know, a lot of guys have pride.
Drew Butera lifts one out to left. Bill Hall tracking it. Out number 2.
And, you know, they don't want to sit down and they don't want to say they need a break. But that's why, you know, I'm going to rely on my coaches as well to keep our eye on these guys. And if you hear something, because sometimes they don't want to come tell you. And they have that pride. They don't want to tell the manager, you know what, I could really use a day. So I rely on them and I watch with my own eyes. And sometimes they'll come tell me.
You took Derek Jeter out today after 3. Just want to get him a couple of bats?
Yeah, I was, you know, we talked about 3 today and hopefully maybe 5 or 6 on Sunday and get him going right in the right direction. And I applauded him. I thought he was really smart today because, you know, he didn't explode out of the box. And I didn't want him to just because, you know, it's the first time that he's played in a while. We want to make sure that calf gets used to the running. And the intensity always turns up when you get in the game. So I thought he played it really smart today.
Denard Span with 2 outs and 2 aboard here in the top of the 5th. 2-run home run by Josh Willingham has the Twins on the board. And 0-1 pitch. Joe, let me get some quick thoughts from you on last night's ball game. Ended up in a 4-4 tie, and I know that you found out afterwards Bobby Valentine had wanted his guy to pitch.
Right.
Just wanted to get your thoughts on what he had to say.
Well, I didn't really hear exactly what he said, and my concern is our team and taking care of our team, and it will always be that way. I got to make sure our guys, we have enough pitching for us, and that we're physically healthy. And you know, I'm sorry it ended up in a tie. It's not how I wanted it to end up. I was happy when we were winning 4-0, but I got to prepare our club for the season, and that's my first job.
And a lot of that hinged on the split squad today.
Yeah, and you know, we're in Fort Myers, and we're using a lot of pitchers in these 2 days, and you know, Phelpsy was supposed to start last night, and his wife had a baby. So I mean, we were, you know, and my other job is the guys that are going to be in the AAA rotation. I have to get them stretched out and make sure they get their proper innings too.
And Span a grounder to short. Pena flips over, and that'll do it here in the top half of the 5th inning. Joe, as always, we thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
And a terrific afternoon here so far. It's taken a turn with the Twins scoring 2 in the top of the 5th. Back at the bottom of the fifth with the Twins leading at 2-0, and Andrew Jones leading things off against Francisco Liriano, who now has a 2-0 lead on the Audi scoreboard. 4 hits in that inning against Ivan Nova, who had held the Twins hitless through the first 4. And a swing and a miss, and the count evens at 1-1. Jones flying out to left field in his first at bat at 188 on the spring. He's knocked in 3 runs.
Bob, I see that 188 batting average. He's actually had some really good at bats lately, hitting the ball the other way. That is a tough slider right there. We've seen a lot of the right-handed batters for the Yankees swing right over the top.
And the 1-2. And a fastball, and Jones pulls it foul.
Well, listening to Joe Girardi makes you think about how much a manager has to think about, during the season, obviously, but even a spring training game. Getting some of the young AAA starters stretched out so they're ready when they go to camp. But not an easy job during spring training.
An off-speed pitch outside, and it's across for a strike. Jones goes down looking.
Well, we'll take a look. Jones has seen the slider down and in. Now he gets a good look at the backdoor slider on the outside corner. Freezes him, locks him up for strike 3. Ron Gardenhire has to be happy with what he is watching. Bottle this guy up and get him ready for opening day.
4 1/3 shutout innings. 3 hits allowed for Liriano. Going back to Girardi and the many things he has to think about, it reminds me of Chipper Jones yesterday when he announced his retirement at the end of the season, being asked, would he like to manage? And he says, I don't think I could do all the stuff a manager has to do. You want me to be a hitting coach? You want me to focus on hitting? That's my thing. But just all of the things that the manager has to think about, he just didn't think he was equipped for it.
And I guess one of the most important things is having a coaching staff that you can trust. Ron Gardenhire has had his same coaches here for years. Joe Girardi has a great staff here. You let them do their thing, and you take care of everything else around it. Not a bad hitting instructor right there, Kevin Long.
And a strike from Liriano on 3-0. It's 3-1. Kevin Long does frequent flyer miles again this offseason, traveling to see a variety of players. And driven out to right field, and Dinkelman over, and that's into the corner. And over the wall for a ground rule double for Nunez. So Nunez on the afternoon, 2 for 2, a single and a ground rule double.
Well, he missed so much time at the beginning of camp with that hand problem. Now starting to get some consistent at bats, and the swing is starting to reappear, driving the ball the other way a couple of times against a left-hander Liriano. Nunez going to be such an important player for the Yankees. Off the bench, giving some of the veterans some days off, adds a lot. Swinging the bat, a lot of speed.
And here's Bill Hall with 1 away and Nunez on second. How about the idea that he got that much power on the ball? A little late taking it to right, but he had that much power to hop it over the wall.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, he is filled out physically from last year, this offseason. Good job with the strength and conditioning program. He's an exciting player, Bobby. I'll tell you, you look at all the scouts in the stands, and these are the type of players that they're scouting. A guy like Nunez, could he be an everyday player for us on our team right now? Is it worth maybe looking for a trade possibility?
And a strike from Liriano, 1-1.
It reminds me of the Pineda-Montero trade, and Noesi was thrown in that trade, and I just heard he was named the number 3 starter out there in Seattle. Wow. So, definitely a guy who pitches a lot of long relief, opens some eyes, and get an opportunity in the rotation.
And Liriano missing, 2-1. And last year, if there was a knock on Nunez, maybe some of the defense he needed to tighten up a little bit. Do you think part of that was kind of being a wide-eyed rookie, if you will, that second year that he might settle in a little bit?
There's definitely something to that, but also being a bench player. I mean, this kid has been used to playing every day in the minor leagues, getting the reps, the ground balls.
And he takes off for third. You mentioned Nunez likes to run, and he ran right there, and he's got himself a stolen base.
Mick Kelleher coaching third today, wants to make sure he's okay. Timed the delivery of Liriano after a few pitches and gets a great jump. The head first slide. Looks like he's going to get that left hand in there.
Always amazes me the force with which those guys hit the bag, second or third, when they slide head first like that.
I never had to worry about that type of force.
Well, 2-2 to Hall. A breaking ball and fouls it away. The Twins track it. It's the first baseman, Domit, with the catch. And that's the second out.
Nice job by Liriano getting the pop-up. Domit over by the Yankee dugout. Looked like a pretty routine play, and it's a little snow cone in that first baseman's mitt. A guy who used to be a catcher with the Pittsburgh Pirates playing a little first base here.
So if, as we take a look at that play from Nunez, full speed, I mean, that's a lot of force coming through there, especially with the third baseman's leg. Something you have to negotiate. You know, I was thinking about that snow cone catch by Domit. Had he dropped it, would that have been a Domit? Just food for thought as we talk about snow cones. 2 away here in the bottom of the 5th. And this is Justin Maxwell, singled in his first at bat in the 3rd. And there you go once again. He made the catch for the second out, though. And there's Maxwell, looks at a strike, 1-2.
And Maxwell has had a nice spring training and batting average over 400 coming into this game. Out of options, Bob. You know, this is a guy, probably not a spot on the club for him as an extra outfielder, but the scouts paying attention.
And hit the 3rd. And Burrows has it on to 1st. So Nunez gets on 2nd, steals 3rd, but the Yanks can't capitalize. Still scoreless for the Yanks. 2-0 Twins, end of 5. Top of the 6th inning with the Twins leading 2-0 here in Tampa, and Ivan Nova back for his 6th inning of work facing Pedro Florimon. On 0-1, misses inside, evens a count at 1-1. Nova scoreless and hitless through the first 4 against the Twins, and then he gave up successive double, home run, and single to the Twins. The double and homer counting for the 2-0 tally as Florimon grounds to 2nd. Nunez is there, 1 away. Well, the Yankees planting the seeds for their 4th Hope Week by honoring a young man here from the Tampa area today. This is Owen Sarwatka, 17 years old, from Tampa Catholic High School. He's a ball player there, and he organized Everyone Can Play, a nonprofit volunteer-run baseball skills clinic for kids with physical and or intellectual disabilities. He brought some of those kids along, got to meet their favorite players, and just kind of show you as Ryan Domet steps in the kind of impact that he had the first year that Owen did it. He got 40 special needs kids involved, and all 40 of them signed up, who attended his clinic, signed up to play baseball in the spring. So really got the kids interested in baseball as Ryan Domet drops one into left center for a 1-out base hit. Let's bring in Jack Curry. Jack, you had a chance to talk to Owen. How did he get all of this going? Why the interest?
You know what, Bob? A very inspirational young man. He actually referenced George Steinbrenner in saying that because of all the philanthropic things that Mr. Steinbrenner had done throughout Tampa, it inspired him to want to help young kids. Said he was never the most popular kid in school, so he wanted to give everyone a chance, even if it was a disabled kid who wanted to have the opportunity to play baseball. And this is how near and dear this project is to his heart. He gave up Christmas presents and birthday presents one year, told family and friends, I just want you to make donations to this. I want as many kids as possible to have the opportunity to play.
You saw some of those kids out there today. They were with the players for the national anthem, and when they were announced and ran out to their positions, that had to be a great moment for them.
It absolutely was, Bob, and I was on the field and saw some of that. And the thing about Owen as you watched him is he was starstruck. He was awestruck. I heard him telling people around him, I can't believe I'm this close to batting practice. So it was nice to see him get recognized. He's going to continue with this project. It's very important to him. And it's just another part of Hope Week, something that the Yankees have done. And as you noted, something that they're going to do again in 2012.
Justin Morneau flying out to right for 2 away with a man aboard. And Jack, maybe no small coincidence that they honor Owen on a day in which they're playing the Twins, because the Twins picked up on the Hope Week initiative that the Yankees started 3 seasons ago.
Right. I remember talking to Jason Zillow when Hope Week first started, and he said that was their goal. They wanted to have Hope Week with the Yankees, but also get as many other teams, as many other organizations as possible to also recognize this and maybe do those types of things in their communities. The Minnesota Twins, of course, following up and doing exactly what the Yankees did.
And, of course, want to underscore the Yankees announcing Hope Week 2012, June 25th to the 29th at Yankee Stadium. So you might want to pencil that in. And if you'd like to nominate somebody that you find inspirational or a group, you can go to hopeweek.com. Jack, thanks, and we'll check in with you a little later.
Sounds good, Bob.
So 2 away here, top of the 6th. And Josh Willingham, who had the home run to put the Twins ahead 2-0. He's up with 2 outs and a man aboard. And a hard hit out to left field. And it rattles into the Twins bullpen. That'll be a ground rule double and set up second and third.
Willingham starting to lock it in a little bit towards the end of spring training. The home run his last at bat, and he did a nice job staying back on a curveball there in a 1-0 count, drilling it into left field. Nova made a little adjustment on pitch selection, not giving in, goes with a curveball, maybe a slider, middle of the plate. Willingham does a nice job staying on it.
All right, so the home run and the double to Willingham, middle of the plate, pitch up a little bit. What is that maybe a sign of here? Because he was really good locked in through 4.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Girardi said it best in the 5th inning, kind of getting behind in the count and challenging some hitters with the fastball, and they made him pay. There, you know, you tip your hat a little bit to Willingham, staying back on an off-speed pitch and a fastball count.
All right, so second and third, Sean Burroughs with a chance to do a little more damage with the Twins leading 2-0.
You know, Bob, a part of spring training for a starting pitcher, getting to the point here, the 6th inning with 2 outs, fatigue sets in, the legs, you know, you're sitting in the dugout, coming back out for another inning. You got to fight through that here if you're Von Nova. Pitch count in great shape at 60.
And lifts one out to left field and fading foul. You know, how much different a perception is it? They have an idea what Nova can do, obviously, based on last year, but different perception leaving a game 2-0 and battling, as you mentioned, versus maybe leaving 3-0 or 4-0.
It's a big difference, but I think the first 4 innings showed everybody that Von Nova had much better stuff today, much better command. And, you know, obviously in spring training you want to see results, but I think the first 4 innings showed everybody he was on top of his game.
And as you mentioned at that point, really ahead in the count, as he is right here, 1-2 on Burrows.
But you know, that curveball that he just threw in the dirt right there, a nice play by Martin to block it. I mean, look at the ball to strike ratio, 49-13. Doesn't get much better than that, but I think the curveball's really been a plus pitch for him today.
A chance to get out of the second and third jam with 2 outs here in the top of the 6th. And Burrows fouling another one away.
Bob Nova's been a kid too, Bob. I mean, his rookie year, said all the right things. You know, every time with all the success he had, not once did I sense that, you know, he's kind of cruising now. He's got it all figured out. He kept working hard, would say all the right thing in his post-game interviews, whether he was good or bad. Most of the time was good.
And Nova missing with a breaking ball, 2-2.
Yeah, even when he took the news he was sent down to AAA in June for 4 weeks, said all the right things. You know, been a lot of young players who would have said some things maybe that would have irked some teammates. Not Ivan Nova.
And Burrows with a base hit into left field. That will score 1, throw home. And Martin too late on the tag, so 2 runs in on the base hit by Sean Burrows, and the Twins lead it 4-0.
Well, Burrows does a nice job just blocking this ball out to left field. You see Martin sets up away, and the pitch ends up middle in. So a little miss with location, but a nice approach by Burrows. And Billy Hall trying to make this team as an extra. Usually plays the infield throw up the line, a strong throw. Martin can't get back in time. Had a lot on it, just up the first base line.
So successive 2-run innings for the Twins against Ivan Nova makes it a 4-0 game. Burrows at second, and the shortstop Brian Dozier. And Dozier, a guy they're feeling very good about, 12th ranked prospect in their organization. Ron Gardenhire has said with the acquisition of Jamie Carroll that Carroll will probably get the second base spot. Dozier, a shortstop by nature, he can play second. They gave him some reps there, but Gardenhire said if he's not going to start, he's going back to AAA. They need him to play.
Let's see what Ivan Nova does here. 2-0 count with 2 outs with a young kid, Dozier, that he doesn't know a whole lot about. Is he going to challenge him with a fastball? You expect him to.
And chopper to third. Alex over to first, and that will do it, but not before the Twins put a couple more on the board, and we head to the bottom half of the 6th inning. Minnesota on top, 4-0. Hey, Yankees fans, individual game tickets for the 2012 season at Yankee Stadium are on sale now as part of a pre-on sale exclusively for MasterCard card holders from now through Sunday, March 25th at 10 p.m. To use your MasterCard to purchase tickets, visit Yankees.com/priceless or call Ticketmaster at 877-469-9849. Bottom of the 6th here in Tampa. Twins putting up 2 runs in each of the 5th and 6th innings against Ivanova. They lead at 4-0. Romero Pena will lead things off. Pena coming into the game after Derek Jeter left after 3 innings. Got a couple at bats. Coming back from that strained calf. Everything fine with him. Joe Girardi telling us that he just wanted to give Jeter a couple reps and then get him out for today. So Pena's in there. Some changes defensively for the Yankees. We'll get those for you. Or excuse me, for the Twins. And that is a shot by Romero Pena out to right and gone. Romero Pena teeing off out to right field off the new reliever Jeff Manship. And the Yankees were on the board 4-1.
Pena played last night in Fort Myers and hit a ball deep to center field a long way. He doesn't waste any time. His first at bat of the afternoon. He jumps on a first pitch fastball. Goes down to get it as well. Drives it out of here for the first Yankee run. He hit a ball a long way last night, so feeling pretty good about his swing.
And here's Curtis Granderson now in a 4-1 game. Granderson is struck out and grounded to short. All right, let's get down inside by the clubhouse. Jack Curry standing by with Derek Jeter. Jack.
Thanks very much, Bob. And Derek, you had to test that calf today. You went 3 innings. How did things go?
Everything went fine, as expected. You just want to be careful with it. So Joe said I'd play 3 innings today.
You had 2 at-bats, so the plan was always to just go 3 innings. We saw you smiling in the dugout, so there was no fear that there was any lingering pain or any...
No. That was what he told me before the game started. I was going to have 3 innings and get ready for the next one.
We know that this was something in the other leg that bothered you last year. With that knowledge, is it just smart, especially in spring training, take it as slow as need be?
There's a lot of smart people that work in this organization, so what I try to do is do what I'm told. But you understand, especially like you said, what happened last year. You want to be cautious with it. We still have 2 weeks, so that was the plan all along.
Now, what's your next step? Do you go 6 innings the next time around? Have you talked to Joe about that?
I would assume so. Probably a lot longer. 3 innings really isn't much, but they didn't want to test it too much today, and I think I'm playing Sunday, so I'm sure I'll go a little longer.
I want to ask you about 2 pitchers. First, I got to ask you about Joba Chamberlain. The news today about the severe and serious ankle injury. Did you have a chance to communicate with him, and what do you think about that?
I did. I feel extremely bad for him. He's worked so hard to get back and get his arm back, and from what I understand, he was back sooner than, or he's ahead of schedule, and that says a lot about how hard he worked this offseason. And now to have a fluke injury like this, you feel extremely bad for him.
And as terrible as that news is, there was some good news recently for the Yankees with Andy Pettitte. As a former teammate, to have him back, what has that been like for you to see Pettitte back in pinstripes?
Well, he was back. His locker was just in the coach's room, so we've seen him here. But I'm happy for Andy. You could tell that he missed it. He wanted to be here. He took his year off, and now he's back. But I'm happy for him, happy for his family. He said his family was behind him. And, we all love Andy as a teammate.
Thanks for the time, Derek. Bob, back to you.
All right, Jack, thank you. Derek, thank you as well. We saw a fly out to left field by Curtis Granderson. Well hit ball to the warning track and left. And then Mark Teixeira striking out. 2 away here in the 6th. And Alex Rodriguez at the plate. Little chopper down the third base line. And Burrows hauls it in foul territory.
Alex Rodriguez happy to see Liriano out of this ball game. A couple of strikeouts against the lefty. Kind of surprised they didn't let him go a little bit further, Bob. 5 shutout innings, was dominant. Through 5 innings his last outing against the Pirates, but I guess Ron Gardenhire and his staff said that's enough.
Well, Jeff Manship has given up a home run to Romero Pena leading off the inning. 2 outs on Granderson and Teixeira. Now Alex Rodriguez looks at ball 1-1-1. Alex, couple strikeouts swinging in the game. Gardenhire and his Twins really seen as an underdog coming off that 63 and 99 season. This is a team that is so used to, throughout the entire 2000s, always being in the mix. Didn't matter if they were spending a lot of money, not spending a lot of money. Well, actually, they never really did spend that much money. But a small market team that always did it right, always able to use their players. And Alex Rodriguez out to left field. And Willingham has it. So that will do it here in the 6th, but not before the Yankees get on the board. Ramiro Pena, first pitch he sees from Manship. Gone out to right. 4-1. Twins lead it. Well, today's Game on Yes is brought to you in part by Chevy. With a full line of award-winning models, find out more at ChevyOffers.com. By 5-Hour Energy, when you got to get stuff done. And by the all-new 2013 Lexus GS. There's no going back. Glad you're with us here in Tampa. Beautiful Friday afternoon. The Yanks find themselves down 4-1 to the Twins as we take a look at the Ford scoreboard. A quiet afternoon for the Twins through 4, and then they got to Ivan Nova for 2 in the top of the 5th and 2 in the top of the 6th. Nova back out there here in the 7th inning, and that was something he struggled with in the last few outings, Flash, but he's gave him a little bit of distance today.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's out there in the 7th, but the pitch count only at 68. So Joe Girardi sending him right back out there, and a good changeup. The first pitch for a strike.
And this is the right fielder Brian Dinkelman, struck out, singled back in the 5th. And a hard hit ball to second base, but Nunez there, 1 away.
Like I said, part of spring training for pitchers, that time in the dugout in between innings. Get back out there, get loose again. 70 pitches with 1 out in the 7th inning. That is outstanding.
And surprising, it tells you what kind of the first 4 innings he had. He had faced 6 batters in each of the 5th and 6th innings. Here's the catcher, Drew Butera.
It's a pitch right there, Bob, that really changed Nova's season around. Or not it changed it, kind of took him to another level. The slider down and away. A nice compliment for that curveball, the 12-6 rotation. A complete pitcher. He's got all 4: fastball, curveball, slider, change.
And fouled away. What's harder for a hitter to pick up? Let's say it's a righty versus righty like this matchup. The 12-6 breaking ball or the slider away?
The slider is the toughest pitch for a right-hander against a right-handed pitcher because it looks like a fastball coming out of his hand. A curveball, a 12-6 curveball, will actually jump straight up out of the hand. So a hitter can see it and recognize it a lot earlier.
And a little looper out to right center field. And that's Maxwell there, 2 away.
We'll take a look at Ivan Nova and a little pitch by pitch against Butera, the catcher. Slider that misses down and away off the plate. Comes back with a fastball, misses down and away. Another fastball with a little movement, pulled foul. And keeps going right at him with another good fastball and a little bit of movement there from Ivan Nova to get the fly ball.
And back to the top of the order. It's Joe Benson who has taken over for Denard Span in center field. Pops one up. Foul. Russell Martin tracking it. And Martin's got it, and that'll do it. So Ivan Nova really bouncing back in a big way. We're at the 7th inning stretch. Yanks trailing 4-1. Friday telecast is presented by authority of the New York Yankees and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the New York Yankees. Heading to the bottom of the 7th here at George M. Steinbrenner Field, with the Yankees trailing 4-1. Russell Martin leading things off. First pitch swinging, and it's through the left side for a base hit. On the Ford scoreboard, Twins leading it. 4 runs on 7 hits, no errors. The Yankees with 1 run on 6 hits and no errors. And that run coming in the last inning off the bat of Ramiro Pena, who led things off with a line drive home run out to right center. It'll bring up Andrew Jones, who's flown out to left field and struck out looking. Some other defensive changes for the Twins. Michael Holloman is at third base now in place of Sean Burroughs, and Luke Hughes is over at first base, spelling Ryan Doman. Jeff Manship on in relief for Francisco Liriano. What did you see from Liriano today?
Well, a good mix of all his pitches. Thought the velocity a little bit better than I remembered. But, you know, the most important thing for him, Bob, if he throws strikes, he's going to be successful. I mean, the walk total last year was so high. I mean, you're not even giving yourself a chance. And today, Ron Gardenhire had to be very, very pleasantly surprised.
And Manship behind 3-0 to Jones.
Let's see if Joe Girardi gives Andrew Jones a green light here, 3-0. Seen Jones, when he gets a pitch he likes, really can turn it loose. And he was taking all the way.
Past the third baseman and into left field, and a couple successive base hits. Yankees are in business, first and second, nobody out here in the seventh.
Well, Andrew Jones got a 3-0 fastball that he took, but he got the same pitch 3-1, and he hammers it. It's that bat head out in front, and this is a rocket past the third baseman Holloman. Scored an E5.
I'm not sure he had much of a shot at that.
Well, I guess the official scorer thought, you know, it was right at him if he could knock it down and then finish up the play. He's going to be a brave man to knock that ball down. That was a rocket.
Welcome to the game, Michael Holloman. There you go. First and second for the Yankees. Nobody out, and Eduardo Nunez is the batter. Nunez very productive at the plate so far. A single and a ground rule double. Gets a pitch over the plate, takes it, 0-1.
I'm impressed with his day, but I'm also impressed he got his timing back as quick as he did with that hand problem. Not a lot of time to get at bats or even swing the bat in the batting cage. It's only taken him a few at bats to get locked in.
Hold off on the outside pitch, 1-1. Martin on second, Jones on first. And driven out to left field, and that is going to be the left fielder just looking and watching as it's a rocket off the wall. 1 run will score. Jones rounds and scores as well, so a couple runs scored by the Yanks, right back in business. It is 4-3.
Stay hot, Eduardo Nunez. Couple of base hits the other way. A base hit to right field, a double to right field. Decides to try out the left side of the diamond on a fastball down and in, and he just drills this ball. With that finish, he's thinking he's got a chance for a home run, and it missed by just a few feet off the top of the wall. Eduardo Nunez, who has missed a bunch of time, locking it in here towards the end of spring training.
3 hits for Nunez on the day, and the Yankees back within 4-3. And here's Bill Hall. Hall is struck out swinging, popped out to the first baseman. That second runner scoring for the Yankees was a pinch runner for Andrew Jones. Ronnie Mostelier. So 4-3, Twins leading it. But the Yankees making a move here in the bottom of the 7th.
Let's see what Billy Hall has on his mind right here. 2-0 with Nunez at second base, nobody out. Is he going to try to advance him to third, or is he going to get aggressive and try to drive him in? Pitch out over the plate. Didn't look like he was thinking about going the other way.
Back in the 5th after Nunez hit a ground rule double. He stole third. He was on third with 1 away. Yanks weren't able to get him in. Wonder if that's in the back of his mind to test Butera again. Manship missing up. 3-1.
Looking at Billy Hall's numbers for the spring, he has 1 home run, 3 RBIs, and I was working that game, Bob, where he had that home run. Real, like, holds his hands real low and has real good finish with his top hand, driving the ball out of left field. He's been a power hitting infielder.
Nice cold beer here. Nice cold beer here, folks.
Manship misses away, and it's a walk for Hall. So first and second, nobody out. And the Yankees making some noise. As the pitching coach Rick Anderson will head out and have a chat with Manship. What would be the advantage for Hall of having those hands low? Just loaded, ready to go?
It's more just a comfort thing. You know, there are a lot of hitting instructors who teach having the hands a little bit higher, but he kind of likes holding them right by his right hip. For some reason, it's worked throughout his career.
Let's check the game summary right now, presented by Lincoln. The Twins were the first to score, 2 in the 5th, 2 in the 6th. Ivan Nova giving up those runs, but working 7 strong innings, allowing the 4 runs on 7 hits. Didn't walk any. Very efficient, 5 strikeouts. Francisco Liriano matching him equally, 5 shutout innings, a 4-hit ball. And Willingham with a 2-run home run, but now the Yankees here with 2 in the 7th to make it a 4-3 game. They're going to work against Jeff Manship. 2 aboard, first and second, nobody out. And a breaking ball in for a strike against Maxwell.
You know, I was interested to see this at bat here, Bob. Last night we saw Bobby Valentine, manager of the Red Sox, do a suicide squeeze in the 9th inning to tie the game up. Managers now at this point in spring training starting to manage like they would during the year. Didn't look like Maxwell was going for the sacrifice bunt there on the first pitch. Girardi letting him swing the bat here. I know during the season in this situation for the number 9 hitter could be a sacrifice bunt opportunity. Spring training, Joe Girardi letting him swing the bat.
You mentioned that he came in feeling good. Plus 400 hitter. 6 runs batted in on the spring. And Maxwell right back up the middle. Nunez will round and score. Hall will hold at second. Maxwell getting the job done. Yankees have tied the game at 4.
Well, he has opened up a lot of eyes throughout the whole spring. Was hurt last year in the minor leagues and still had impressive power numbers. Opened up some eyes here in camp, but also with the scouts.
Well, he's opened Ron Gardenhire's eyes enough that he's going to pull Jeff Manship here in relief and go to the bullpen. And we'll take a quick break here. Yankees tying it up at 4 in the 7th. April 6th, the quest for 28 begins in Tampa when the Yankees kick off the 2012 season against the division rival Rays. Join the Yes Network team for complete coverage of all the opening day pageantry, including the lineups and first pitch from Tropicana Field. The 2012 regular season starts Friday, April 6th at 2 o'clock right here on Yes. And everybody looking forward to opening day. Always a great day of celebration for all 30 major league teams. They all start even. 2 weeks from today, April 6th, mark it down. So Jared Burton is the new pitcher on in relief of Jeff Manship. The Yankees having scored 3 runs here in the bottom of the 7th. Runners at first and second. They've tied the game at 4. That's a little bunt by Ramiro Pena. And the throw over to first by Butera, but Pena does his job advancing the runners.
Well, we've seen Pena through his years as a Yankee being able to do the little things, plays great defense, swinging the bat a little bit better, but a sacrifice bunt right there gets the appreciation of all his teammates and his manager. See, the third baseman cheats in. Butera is looking to go to third. Nobody covering, takes the out at first.
So second and third, 1 out, and now the batter, number 85, Mason Williams. And you talked about that interesting dynamic of having Maxwell hit in a big spot. How about this youngster who had such a great season last year for the Yankees? Mason and Williams, a chopper up the middle to throw home. Not in time, so Mason Williams delivering. One of the prize prospects in the Yankees organization. And just like that, he's put the Yankees in front 5-4.
Well, Williams does not waste any time. Waits for a first pitch fastball. Drives it right back up the middle. Like the open stance, a little fastball up out over the plate, comes right up over the top. Runners going on contact. Another base hit and RBI.
Florimon really had no chance to get him at first. Williams with tremendous speed. So 5-4 Yankees lead it here, bottom of the 7th. And now Mark Teixeira with runners at first and third. And 1 away, looks at a strike from Burton. Teixeira, the 8th batter of the inning for the Yankees. Williams fake breaks for second. And Teixeira almost snuck one down the line. Luke Hughes over at first base, by the way, Flash.
Heard so much about Williams. We'll see if he gets an opportunity to try to steal a base right here.
And Teixeira to second. Williams out at second. And Teixeira beats the throw, and another run scores. Maxwell is in at 6-4 Yankees.
Well, Mark Teixeira hustling down the line. Williams goes into second base hard. Mark Teixeira picks up an RBI. He's smelling that RBI, and he gets it.
And Teixeira removed from the game for a pinch runner. Also a new hitter in for Alex Rodriguez. It is Jason Nix. And Nix with 2 away. The Yankees leading at 6-4. Looks at a pitch away from Burton, 1-0.
Bob, we saw Jason Nixon, his numbers last year with the Blue Jays. He was one of the guys watching BP earlier in camp that really impressed me. Ball jumping off his bat. Obviously not a lot of room on this club as a utility infielder. Want to make an impression while you're here in case you get sent down. If there's an opportunity, they'll remember your name.
I've got a few of those real good hitters down in the minors. Brandon Laird comes to mind. Seems to hit the ball very hard.
Sometimes players who maybe struggle with one organization go to another and they get with a hitting instructor and it just works for some reason. Nick's one of those guys working with Kevin Long this spring. Really looked like he made some improvements with his stroke. See if that pays off during the season.
(3-1) to Knicks with a man on first. And a swing and a miss, 3-2. So full count, 2 outs here in the bottom of the 7th. The Yankees have put 5 on the board to lead at 6-4 over the Twins. And Knicks trying to keep the inning alive. The runner breaks for second. Knicks fouling one away. Knicks pinch hitting for Alex Rodriguez. And the 3-2 again. And a swing and a miss, and that will do it, but not before the Yankees score 5 runs here in the bottom of the 7th, and they now lead it over the Twins 6-4 here in Tampa. Hey, Yankees fans, another reminder, individual game tickets for the 2012 season at Yankee Stadium are on sale now as part of a pre-on sale exclusively for MasterCard holders from now through Sunday, March 25th at 10 p.m. To use your MasterCard to purchase tickets, visit Yankees.com/priceless or call Ticketmaster at 877-469-9849. A familiar number, familiar feet, familiar physique, and a familiar pitcher. Now pitching here in the 8th inning, and it's Mariano Rivera. Pedro Florimon squares Mo with a first pitch strike. No big surprise there. Strike one, and a 6-4 Yankees lead now after they score 5 in the bottom of the 7th.
Good news all the way around for the Yankees. A nice outing by Nova. 7 innings.
Florimon cues one to the third base coach. 0-2.
The offense picks it up, scoring 5 runs in the bottom of the 7th, and then you bring the greatest closer of all time in the 8th inning. Get himself a little bit of work. And quickly ahead, 0-2, Bob. He's been a strike throwing machine this spring training, just like he has his whole career.
strike three, so Florimon goes down looking. Well, Mariano last year, of course, becoming the all-time saves leader, now with 603 in his 18th season. The postseason resume speaks for itself. And of course, the storyline for him all season is, will this be his last season, Flash? And he has not revealed that yet.
He has not. But, you know, like all the older Yankees, you know, the family consideration is a big part of it. And, you know, really, what more can he do in his career? It's been just amazing.
Yeah, this is Luke Hughes, grounds to short. Pena over, 2 away.
We were throwing out some stats on our last broadcast. Hasn't given up a run since like 08 with the Yankees in spring training.
Well, last September, you might remember this, in a makeup game against the Twins. This is familiar to them. You see it right there, save number 602. And of course, about the only time he was left on the mound by himself. And Flashy talked about how odd it felt as his teammates cheered for him, and he was out there saluting the crowd and his teammates as he became the all-time saves leader.
Well, we're lucky enough to know the man, you know, watch him perform all these years, but you get to know the person, and, you know, being out on the mound by himself felt uncomfortable.
And gets Justin Morneau to lift one to the left side. And Jason Nix has it. Once again, pitching like he has someplace else he needs to get to. 1, 2, 3 for Mariano. Yanks lead at 6-4. This afternoon's game here in Tampa, a couple minor leaguers honored with the Kevin Lawn Award as the Yankees minor league pitcher and player of the year. That's the pitcher. That's DJ Mitchell, and that's Austin Romine. Mitchell went 13-9 at AAA, a 3.18 ERA, and for Romine, so he spent most of the year at AA Trenton, batted .286, 47 runs batted in, 6 homers. He made the Eastern League's All-Star team. So 2 of the prizes, and there are a lot of them now in the Yankees farm system, honored with the Kevin Lawn Award for the pitcher and player of the year in the minor leagues. Bottom of the 8th inning, Yankees lead at 6-4 here against the Twins. Kyle Waldrop comes out of the bullpen for Ron Gardenhire.
Well, Mariano goes to the bullpen, throws a few more pitches to get a little extra work done. Now his afternoon is over. Thanks for coming.
And this is Gustavo Molina taking over for Russell Martin behind the plate. Leading things off in the 8th. In the 7th inning, the Yankees batted around and scored 5 runs. Waldrop last year, the ERA around 6. New catcher too, J.R. Tolles behind the plate. And the count even at 2-2 on Molina. Mo was getting a little extra work in the bullpen. His day quickly done and with a perfect 8th, and then Rafael Soriano up now in the 9th. Or ready to go in the 9th anyway. The ground ball to third. Nice little pick over at first by Luke Hughes. 1 away.
Good little sinking fastball from Waldrop. The throw is going to be a little bit low, and a nice play by Hughes picking it off of the grass. Doesn't even make the dirt. Nice job hanging in there.
And Ronier Mustillier is the batter, taking over for Andruw Jones in the DH spot. I certainly hope I got that right. This one caught me a little bit by surprise. Bit of a left hook for me.
I'll tell you what, when you hit 356 in the minor leagues, that's the way you make a trip across Dale Mabry Boulevard from the minor league complex to the big league stadium to get a little look.
And he pinch ran for Jones in the last inning and ended up scoring the second of what became 5 runs in the 7th.
And Bob, a big thrill for some of these kids coming across the street, getting a chance of a big league spring training game. Gives you a little motivation, a little taste of it. Keeps you working hard, trying to get yourself up here for good.
And you wonder, some of these young guys, single, double A, do they learn more sitting on the bench and in the clubhouse talking to these guys, or is it more about, you know, maybe in game and getting those reps?
You know what, it might be talking to the players, but I think it's more watching how they go about their business, getting ready for a big league game.
Hot shot foul.
And you know, it's not saying that a lot of the veteran big leaguers aren't going to talk to these kids, because they do. But I think the kids get more from just watching how a Derek Jeter takes his ground balls, or an Alex Rodriguez go through his batting practice, what it takes to be a big leaguer day in and day out.
2-2, chopper to short, and that'll be the second out of the inning. 2 away here, the bottom of the 8th. Batter will be Walter Ibarra. He's taking over for Eduardo Nunez. So very familiar here with George M. Steinbrenner Field. Last year here, 297 average, 6 homers, 52 runs batted in. Great place to play. And Ibarra. Well, you use that familiarity to get a base hit, but it's a line out to left, and that'll do it. A 1-2-3 bottom of the 8th. We head to the last chance for the Twins with the Yanks up by 2. Well, tonight the Nets are in the ATL to tangle with Josh Smith and the Hawks. Coverage on Yes starts at 7 o'clock with the Nets pregame. Then Ryan Rucco and Mike Fratello have the call from courtside. Nets, Hawks, it all starts tonight at 7 only on Yes. And top of the ninth here in Tampa as the Yanks try to close out what would be a 6-4 win. Rafael Soriano in after a perfect 1-2-3 eighth inning by Mariano Rivera. And he starts things off by facing Chris Parmelee. And first pitch swinging, Parmelee out to right field. And quickly one away.
Well, Soriano probably going to pitch a lot in the 7th inning this year with a very formidable bullpen for the New York Yankees. And you see the numbers. His first season in the Bronx, 4.12 ERA, 39 innings, only 33 hits.
And here's Michael Holloman, the third baseman. And you think about the news today on not only Jabba Chamberlain, but David Robertson. That was the good news. He's back on the hill throwing a live BP session. Robertson is your 8th inning guy. But just in case anything happens at the back end of that bullpen, you've got a guy like Soriano who could do the 8th inning if you need him to.
He could do the 9th inning closer with the Rays, had an all-star season.
Little cue shot foul down the third base line.
Bob, I have to say hello to Drew Rossi watching the game back home in Scranton, Pennsylvania. He's the son of Phil Rossi, who was the Red Sox scout who signed me. And Drew, a big Yankee fan, watching the game today. Thanks for hanging in there with us.
Good to have you with us, Drew.
Gets a good look at the AAA prospects there. And Drew's turned himself out to be a pretty good player himself. Nice little infielder.
Well, Soriano trying to put away Michael Holloman. 1-2 pitch. Ooh. Good inside spot. Didn't get it. But a nice location there.
I love the execution. A bunch of pitches away, and then he tries to lock up the left-hander inside with a fastball. Wow. Want to get that call during the season.
I wonder if Mark Carlson, the home plate umpire, was willing to ring him up or just about to. Soriano bounces one. The count goes full. Oh, 3-2, beautiful spot outside, and Holloman goes down looking.
Well, Soriano did not get the call on the inner half, but he gets it on the outer half. Impressed with the location. Dots it right on the corner.
And Brian Dozier, the shortstop, the last chance for the Twins. Here trailing by 2. 2 outs, top of the 9th. And first pitch from Soriano misses, 1-0.
All in all, a very positive day, except for the Jabba Chamberlain news, Bob. Nova threw the ball well. Nunez had a nice afternoon. Derek Jeter back on the field.
And Soriano comes back with a strike, 1-1. Of course, you can follow the news of Jabba Chamberlain and his ankle dislocation at YesNetwork.com. Also, Jack Curry be tweeting at Jack Curry Yes. Two-1 to Dozier. And lifted out to right field. And that will do it. The 1-2-3 inning for Soriano, and just like that, the Yankees rally with 5 in the 7th, and then hold the fort with Mariano in the 8th and Soriano in the 9th to win it here 6-4 in Tampa. As the Yanks improve to 11-9-1 in spring training. Twins fall to 12-10. Good feeling all around for the Yanks. 6-4. Flash and I'll be back to wrap things up from Tampa right after this.